We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and today we are going to talk about two aspects of our intelligence apparatus, our national defense, our national security, if you will, in regards to both NASA and Jeffrey Epstein. Now, NASA quietly, through an executive order, has officially become a spying agency. Got news for everybody. Its inception had everything to do with black operations, surveillance, technology, etc., and they worked hand in hand with the Central Intelligence Agency. We have talked so much here on this channel about how SpaceX, for instance, is simply a rebranding of NASA and also a tool for our Defense Department, not just in surveillance, communications, but a whole multitude of other technologies, including 3D bioprinting, hydrogels, okay, and what we call organoids, which are biological, aka wet computing, and then traditional electronics computing merged together. Sound a little transhumanistic? Sure. Now, obviously, the spying aspect of NASA is going to largely be with technology. However, just like any misinformation or disinformation campaign, that is the bread and butter of NASA, okay? That is the whole narrative that we're going to the moon and Elon's taking us to Mars, and that's what NASA is totally and completely ridiculous, okay? And when you look at the real efforts for that, whatever we're seeing as the real efforts for that, okay, we should separate them. I'm not saying I know how far we've been in space. I'm also not saying I know what technology, especially propulsion and energy systems, have been utilized to get there. What I will tell you is the public narrative of rocket ships going to and fro the moon and Mars as we colonize them or set up nuclear reactors on them, that's imagination land. That's like watching a Hollywood movie, and they do that. And I'm going to show you this latest, Sean Duffy, reality TV star, Sean Duffy. turned mainline anchor turned Trump administration transportation department head. And they're the de facto head and spokesperson now of NASA. And I'm sure Trump loves him. Good looking guy, good in front of the camera, says, we're going to beat China. We're going to beat China to the moon. But we already beat China and everybody else to the moon back in the 60s and 70s, didn't we? I thought that was how it happened with Apollo stuff. Huh, weird. So we're going to go over that executive order. We're also going to show you the history of NASA working with the Central Intelligence Agency, especially a little place called Area 51. And it's so funny. So I've read Area 51, and I'm not going to tell you that I can recall everything in there, okay? But when I was getting ready to do this video, I thought to myself, well, I want to show people, because I remember it in Annie Jacobson's book, that some of these people who ended up being pilots or testing the stuff at Area 51 that's being worked on via Lockheed Martin, et cetera, Oxcart Project is one of them. A lot of them thought they were applying to jobs for NASA. Now, I typed that into the Google AI, and there's no evidence of that. There's no evidence of that. Meanwhile, NASA and Google are a partnership. They have been a partnership for some time in the realm of what? Quantum computing and artificial intelligence. Those sound like Defense Department things. Oh, in fact, they are Defense Department programs. Anyone paying the slightest bit of attention from what the rhetoric has been, it's those who have the AI and control the dominant AI will be the geopolitical force. So Google's there for narrative management. It's ridiculous. NASA has always been part of the intelligence apparatus. And guess what? Jeffrey Epstein is another part of that intelligence apparatus. Now, we've talked about that for a multitude of years at this point. Really, the beginning of those revelations came with the fact that Vicky Ward began reporting that Alex Acosta, then in the Trump administration, wasn't in there much longer after the reporting. He was the guy in charge of the prosecution, he's the Attorney General, okay, in charge of the prosecution of Epstein in Palm Beach. The one big part of the case that we knew. Because remember, things like Zorro Ranch, nope, sorry. No investigation needed there, even though the place looks like a covert military base. Shh. Not supposed to know those things. James O'Keefe, and again, this is why I think ultimately, I get it. I get why people were upset about the Veritas O'Keefe break. Veritas continues to do some good work. O'Keefe continues to do some good work. Are either of them perfect? No. But what we do now have, and we're only going to play a little bit of it because I don't want to get a copyright strike or have to mute it or whatever. You can watch the whole thing via James O'Keefe's YouTube and his X account. But we've got an official that worked on the Palm Beach case, says that he interviewed 20 to 30 of the victims, and essentially not only was Epstein's CIA, a CIA informant at the very least, weird. We already know he worked with the FBI. No one talks about that. Just not discussed. So this guy's saying, yeah, no, it's going to come out that he was Central Intelligence Agency, an informant. And then he talks about the interviews with the girls, admits that Trump was on the plane, but supposedly never on a plane when any of the sexual abuse occurred. However, he can't say the same about Clinton. He says something else about Clinton. Now, Representative Massie has gone full bore on this and just did a conference yesterday, or actually today, earlier today, that was barely picked up on the media, barely being talked about on social media, where he and Massie did a forum on many subjects, but especially Massie and him getting the votes for the Epstein files release, okay? And we're going to play the exchange earlier in this week between Massie and Kash Patel. And Kash Patel looks upset. Kash Patel doesn't want to answer these questions. Kash Patel is annoyed that he can't do his job. He's a little man. I'm sorry, Kash. You know, I wanted to like you. I wanted to believe. You walked off my show when I brought up signature reduction, another intelligence program nobody else seems to be covering, that is completely unconstitutional, extremely dangerous, but see, now it's a tool in this administration's toolbox. See how that works? All dangerous stuff. Executives within executives, no accountability, compartmentalization, disinformation, misinformation, the use of technology, sex operatives. It's all here today on Making Sense of the Madness. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go over these stories one by one. I'm going to show you some of the information in Annie Jacobson's book regarding Area 51, NASA, the CIA, the whole shebango. And we're going to play the exchange between Massie and Patel. We're going to play the NASA propaganda video. And we've got this other just local news. There's one video of one local news station, no national news covering it, of the Massie Rand Paul Forum, where, you know, they took questions from their constituents. Wow. What, politicians taking questions from the little guys? Not just the hair and makeup folks with the Mikey phones on the networks? Huh, how about that? Huh. Sounds like something I'm interested in. So, let's get the thumbs up. If you are new to the broadcast, you like what you heard so far, you're enjoying the presentation, please, 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 not only subscribe, ring that bell. If you are subscribed, ring that bell. Give a comment, not only in the live stream if you're watching this live, but down below. And we're going to get into the possibility of maybe being remonetized. We have now reapplied, as of today, for monetization. I'm going to tell you how you can help me with that. But first and foremost, I cannot do this without you. I absolutely 100% wish I could. I wish that I did have 2 paying shows where I was interviewing a multitude of people that were set up by a producer. I had that luxury the past few years. That is over. So I need you guys. I want to say John Jessup, Jamma, Gypsy Bird, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to everybody who has contributed $5, $10, $15, bigger donations as well. They absolutely do mean the world to me. There's also a PayPal down below. I want to acknowledge alternative media here in the Quad Cities that supports myself as well. You've seen me on WQUD 1077, but the River City Reader is a print publication that has been around for the better part of 3 decades, and they do it right. That's all I'm going to say is if you like alternative media commentary, the River City Reader, you can get an actual paper copy. He will mail that to you. And then, of course, you can check it out online. And the same people that run that run Marigold Resources. If you are buying or selling a business, these are good people. Let me say that again. These are good people. Maybe you just want somebody to check out a contract, cross those T's, dot those I's, make sure everything's going. Give my people a call over at Marigold Resources or go to marigoldresources.com and check it out. And like I told you before, we're trying to do this thing. I'm gonna do this in the chat right now if you're watching live on YouTube. Let's see if it comes up. We're going to put this in. I need you guys on X to retweet this with a, hey, remonetize Jason Bermas immediately. Remonetize this guy's channel because we do have concessions by Google, which is part of the military-industrial complex. Period. Full stop. I know it's traded on the stock market and people want to believe it's a private company. I mean, look at Eric Schmidt, who is running Google and running Alphabet, the parent company after, and his national security team, his Defense Department ties. It's all out in the open. Even when you press the AI, they have to admit it. So you can go there now. I put it in the chat. Let's do a retweet. You can't financially support me. I get it. We don't have to go as hardcore if we can make money again on YouTube. It's been 5 years. 5 years. And they are falsely claiming still that I cannot be monetized because I am harmful content. If harmful content is reporting factually on what other reports, white papers, videos are, and maybe not going along with the government line or the mainstream media narrative or the great narrative of the day by whether it be my government, another government, an international organization like the UN, if that's harmful content, well, I guess I'm guilty as charged. Is that freedom of speech? Oh, well, it's freedom of speech. It's just not freedom of speech. No, actually, they've taken my channel a multitude of times. Just one of those times, who was it? My good boy, my good man. And I got to get him on the program. I don't have him on enough. Richard Andrew Grove retweeted one of the instances. Let's see if I can find it. Let's go back to this right here, where they did take my channel and I shamed them through you guys. It's right here, back in May of 2022. Okay, so over 3 years ago, they rejected my appeal within minutes. All right, because I had pointed out this.
And you will notice that they accurately predicted that the bio-nano era would begin in 2020. Why do I say it began in 2020? What do you think the shots were? Whether you took the mRNA or the vector shot, they were all biological nanotechnology, and they just injected billions of people with it.
All factual. There's, again, I didn't say another word about that technology other than it is bio-nanotech, which it is. You look at the Tesla CureVac partnership in particular. And I pointed that out that this document that's pre-9/11, July of 2001, states that bio-nano era, let's blow it up a little bit right there, begins in 2020, and then they injected, billions of people with bio-nanotech. That was no-go. But you guys helped me out. You guys said, hey, what is this? And I got my channel back. Now it's time to get my monetization back, okay? Full stop. So we're going to get into NASA, and that's a NASA doc. I thought that'd be a good little precursor, but let's start with Epstein, okay? Let's start there. So this is at Glenn Prager, okay? I'm just going to play it, and we're going to play it small because, again, you can see his face. You can watch the full almost 14-minute piece. It's got 5 million views already on this platform. I'm sure it's got close to 1 million, if not more, over on YouTube. But here you go. Here's some more info that shows that Epstein was, in fact, say it with me now, intelligence.
It's not talked about yet, but it'll soon come out that he was a CIA informant.
He was a CIA informant.
He was a CIA. I think he's protecting a lot of other people. He's not protecting himself because there's nothing there, but he's protecting a lot of people.
Because Trump's now saying it's a hoax of the case, like a hoax or something. I'm like, come on, it's not a hoax. He's been on the plane, many times. Mm-hmm. It's just he was never on the plane with the kids.
I've seen the itineraries and I've interviewed all the victims. There's never been an instance where Trump was on a plane with these kids and a rape occurred. But that can't be said for Clinton, and it can't be said for others. While the Clintons were on the plane, while Bill Clinton was on the plane, there were rapes that occurred.
Overheard at Phoenix.
Now, let me also say, and go watch the rest of it, because again, I don't want my stuff taken down. He says, again, those victims that he did interview, and he said it was 20 to 30 of them via the Palm Beach case. Again, that Acosta went out and said that he didn't prosecute, gave him that sweetheart deal because he was intelligence. It was above his pay grade. Then when he gets asked about it, he can't answer the question, and he has to resign the next day with Trump next to him. Trump saying, well, he called me right up. He didn't want to be a burden to the administration. This guy says that essentially these girls originally were ready to testify. Then they were paid between $100,000 and $500,000 apiece to shut up. And what did they do? They targeted girls that didn't have money. No kidding. How many times have I talked about these people within the predator class buying other people? The transactional nature of that predator class. They're social Darwinists, folks. The ones that aren't initially rich or just a little bit and make their way up to the top, right? Like somebody like a Peter Thiel. Those people are social climbing, social Darwinists that are sociopaths, if not psychopaths, to get to that level. They believe they should rule because they do. It's a might is right scenario. And when you are a predator looking for prey, you look to the weakest to exploit. Laws of the jungle. And they really believe this whole deal is the jungle. All right? So, I want to show this here. We're going to read the article in a moment. I've been talking about this for a very long time. And here's a point that I really want to make to people that are kind of in this everything is staged fantasy land. Okay? Like the people that, again, I did my Charlie Kirk theories yesterday. And of course, there are people in the comments that they don't know what actual death looks like. Insta-death, violent death, like recorded death. They don't understand what that is. Okay, they have a mental block. They're not well. I will say that. Okay, they need human relationships. They need sunshine. They need exercise. They need a lot. Those were the type of people that thought that Epstein was somehow scurried away. And they think that video that Rusty Shackelford took after the fact on the island is Epstein. It's not. They always show you the blurrier ones. Believe me, as soon as it came out, I went to, I believe it was actually, you get it in 4K, the 2160p, and looked at it, downloaded it. I even put it into my Premiere to make sure, nope, just a guy that looked a little bit similar. Then you had the real lunatic faction that was, oh, look at his ears. He's Anthony Bourdain. Like, what are you, like, that kind of stuff is put out there not just by lunatics, but just to discredit everybody, okay? And as I've stated before, if they were going to just extract Epstein, they wouldn't have tried to murder him in the previous suicide attempt. And now we have official documentation. Let me repeat this. Official documentation that Bill Barr absolutely knew that Epstein had told people that he was attacked by Nicholas Tartaglione, the dirty cop murderer, cold-blooded, now convicted cold-blooded murderer, they put him in a cell with. Okay, so we're going to show you the article. We're going to show you who Epstein actually, remember, it wasn't just Epstein's lawyer and his brother that said the first suicide attempt wasn't a suicide attempt. So again, if they were going to extract him, why'd they try to kill him the first time? Why'd the media say it was a suicide attempt? Why did he die by suicide, what, within a week or two? I have to go back on that. I don't think it was 2 weeks from the first one. That wasn't a suicide attempt. And thank you so much, Chad. I Tip Top Magoo, my man. Thank you, Chad. That's the kind of support we love here. So once again, all these fantasies, this guy tried to strangle him, and Bill Barr, who laughed it up when he was asked about whether or not they were going to keep Ghislaine Maxwell from committing suicide, like really laughed hard. All right? He knew. He knew. Of course he knew. This is an intel op. You just heard that guy tell you he was a CIA informant. We're going to show you the documentation he worked with the FBI. We've shown you the over-the-top evidence that this guy was an arms dealer also working with Israeli intelligence, probably embedded since the Iran-Contra affair. But what? Hobnobbing with other arms dealers like Prince Andrew. And then you have that video of Lewis Black. I might have to pull that up. Of Lewis Black discussing the one time he was in Epstein's home. And he's got a whiteboard talking about weapon systems with the Israeli defense minister. Now, that doesn't scream intelligence. That doesn't scream arms dealing. Oh, it's not like we haven't had millionaire arms dealers for Israel in this country in the Hollywood scene. Arnon Milken, Sidney Pollack. It's known. And yet, no trials. Nobody going, oh, bad guys. No. They celebrate those guys. Loved Arnon. Couldn't get enough of Sidney. Great guys. So, this one, again, it was in the Daily Mail just the other day. I saw nobody covering this. Let's read it. Okay? A former New York cop turned murderer was accused by Jeffrey Epstein of trying to strangle him in his cell just 18 days before the disgraced financier was found dead. See, there it is right there. I get things wrong. I said 1 to 2 weeks. It was 2.5 weeks. I am sorry. I get them wrong sometimes. Now, here are the documents. Newly unearthed documents reveal Epstein told prison staff that his cellmate, Nicholas Tartiglione, 57, attacked him on the night of July 23rd, 2019, less than 3 weeks before his apparent suicide. Remember, they haven't had a suicide other than Epstein in the MCC for almost 20 years. It's 13, 14 years before he killed himself. Nobody's killed themselves there since. And this is a guy that was strangled by his cellmate, according to him, and reported it. Epstein was discovered at 1:27 a.m. lying on the floor of his Metropolitan Correctional Center cell with an orange noose around his neck, unable to answer officers' questions. After being stretchered to another floor, he told staff he had been assaulted by Tartiglione. Now think about that too. An orange noose around his neck. And that's similar to what they eventually found him with anyway? Okay? So again, after being stretchered to another floor, he told staff he had been assaulted by Tartiglione, a former cop serving life for a quadruple murder that had already questioned him in their cell over his connections to powerful people, it is claimed. In a newly released transcript of former Attorney General Bill Barr's closed-door testimony to the House Oversight Committee, Barr admitted he knew of the incident, but insisted it was a suicide attempt, arguing it reflected Epstein's state of mind before his death. But according to a memo written by corrections officers at the jail, obtained by CBS News, those who spoke with Epstein after the incident cast doubt on that version of events. You don't say. The report says Epstein not only blamed his cellmate for the attack, but had earlier warned staff that Tartiglione had threatened him. Inmates who spoke with Epstein before and after the incident also reportedly questioned the idea his injuries were self-inflicted. The documents show Epstein reportedly told corrections officers that he was not suicidal at the time and raised further questions over the security precautions around the notorious pedophile before his much scrutinized death. I mean, what else needs to be said, folks? So I told you about Massie. He's got the votes, and he said that Republican leaders have threatened supporters that are trying to push the release of this. All right? Let's get rid of that right there. Again, they just had this forum in Kentucky. Nobody wanted to tape it. We're going to show you some of it. Rand Paul makes a comment on Jimmy Kimmel. That's probably a video for another day. But we're certainly going to play Massie just eviscerating Kash Patel. Eviscerating him. Making him look like a child that does not belong in that seat. Period. Okay? So this is what Massie had to say. Okay? They came back and tried to get the four of us to take our names off the petition. Massie told Seminar after the event at his Northern Kentucky district. They asked some of my colleagues who were co-signers, and they actually threatened them politically, not physically. I believe that. So, without further ado, this is what a man looks like. Tom Massie is the man. He doesn't just get in line. I like me some Tom Massie.
Director Patel, I watched some of your Senate hearing yesterday when Senator Kennedy asked you, you've seen most of the files, who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these women to besides himself? You replied, according to the transcript, there is no credible information that he trafficked them to anyone else. You also said somewhere in the hearing and here today that the problem is that the case files are constrained by limited search warrants from 2006 to 2007 and that the non-prosecution agreement hamstrung future investigations. Those constraints only apply to Southern District of Florida. They do not apply to Southern District of New York, the location of the 2019 sex trafficking indictment, which produced many things, including a series of FD 302 documents. According to victims who cooperated with the FBI in that investigation, these documents in FBI possession, your possession, detail at least 20 men, including Mr. Jess Staley, CEO of Barclays Bank, who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked victims to, victims including minors, such as Virginia Roberts Giuffre, may she rest in peace. That list also includes at least 19 other individuals, one Hollywood producer worth a few $100 million, one royal prince, one high-profile individual in the music industry, one very prominent banker, one high-profile government official, one high-profile former politician, one owner of a car company in Italy, one rock star, one magician, at least 6 billionaires, including a billionaire from Canada. We know these people exist in the FBI files, the files that you control. I don't know exactly who they are, but the FBI does. Have you launched any investigations into any of these people, and have you seen these 302 documents?
Sir, I have asked my FBI agents to review the entirety of the Epstein files and bring forth any credible information. And we're working with Congress not only to divulge that information and produce it to you, but any investigations that arise from any credible investigation will be brought. There have been no new materials brought to me launching a new indictment.
So is the loophole here, or is it your assertion that these victims aren't credible, that the 302s maybe didn't produce credible statements that rise to a probable cause?
It's not my assertion, sir. It's the assertion of two different United States attorneys' offices from 3 separate administrations who investigated those same materials in lifetime.
Or the 302.
Let's stop it right there really quickly. You know, again, this guy couldn't go on enough podcasts and talk about the deep state and talk about the other administrations and the corruption of the Barack star and the corruption of a Biden administration where the guy wasn't even conscious. Okay, and the vice president wasn't making decisions. Yeah, he never really got into that either. He's soft. And now he's quoting Loserville. As if, at least on this subject, because it was popular amongst those who were big in that social media and podcast sphere. It's not my conclusion. It's the conclusion of other corrupt administrations. Really? FBI? You're the FBI director, right? Huh. Well, because right in here, I got this document that's been around for quite some time. It goes back to the Palm Beach case. It says Epstein has also provided information to the FBI as agreed upon. Case agent advised that no federal prosecution will occur in this matter as long as Epstein continues to uphold his agreement with the state of Florida and that FBI. But we don't know the FBI agent that drafted it. We don't know the FBI agent that approved it. It stinks of Mueller. And we don't know the details of the investigation that were revealed to them in just those 2 little paragraphs. And this guy is sitting up there talking Johnny nonsense to Massie and playing in to the official loser narrative. Geez, I hope that my spine never gets shattered like that.
The 2 documents in the FBI's possession?
They reviewed all that, yes, sir.
And so have you reviewed those 302 documents that where the victims name the people who victimized them?
If I personally know, but the FBI has.
So how can you sit here and in front of the Senate and say there are no names?
I said
I named one today.
I said we are not in the practice at the Department of Justice FBI of releasing victims' names. That is not what we do. We are also not in the habit of releasing incredible information. That's not what we do. But multiple authorities have looked at the entirety of what we have.
Okay, I got to move on here. Were you present when the AG had the White House event when she released the binders to the social media influencers?
I was, yes.
So if you're willing to meet with social media influencers who stood to benefit from the sensational and sad stories of these victims, will you meet with the victims as well?
The FBI will meet with anyone who has new information.
Will you personally meet with them?
The FBI and the professionals who are handling the cases will.
Were you instructed that it was important to release the documents to the Oversight Committee on the day of my introduction of the discharge petition to release these files?
I don't know what day that was, so no.
Well, they were released that day, and there were victims' names who weren't redacted because they were in such a rush, and the victims are not happy about that.
Gentleman from Kentucky is recognized for unanimous consent.
Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to submit 2 sets of documents. The first is a series of emails from the victims of Jeffrey Epstein. They are making FOIA requests to get their own FBI files and not having any success. So I want to bring attention to that by submitting that to the record.
He also submits other documentation, including the Acosta Intel stuff, etc. Go Massie. Go Massie. We're going to shift gears. Here it is. And I missed this one over a week ago. It's official, even though, again, NASA has always worked with the intel communities. It is now a spy agency. You know, I don't want to skip it. I do have one more video, and we're going to just go to that video first. And this is Massie today. Talking about the petition. I do want to play this. This is the one small video I was able to find from this Greenup County, Kentucky forum. So let's play that.
You know, if the speaker tries to use some special parliamentary procedure to turn off the discharge petition, there's enough notoriety on this issue that people will know that he's sweeping this under the rug. And ultimately, if he wants to try and sideline the discharge petition, he's going to have to get 218 votes for that. And if you participate in that vote to sideline the discharge petition, now you're part of the cover-up.
Out of 8 stops.
You're part of the cover-up. Love Massie. All right, let's get back to it. So here it is. Let's read some of this. The Trump administration issued an executive order late last month quietly declaring NASA will operate as a national intelligence and security agency going forward. Always has been. Always has been. Always has been. Among other things. I mean, hand in hand with DARPA, hand in hand with Google. I mean, so many things. But yes, at NASA, you could take the A out, NSA, all of it. Work with NOAA. I mean, the whole climate change, carbon dioxide push, very embedded in NASA. The wind technologies, they pioneered by NASA. I've got the 50 years of NASA DVD over here. NASA. All right? No mention of that science and exploration stuff. NASA Watch founder Keith Cowing, a former scientist at the agency who now closely follows its internal and external politics, wrote in a blog post. There are signs that the Trump's intentions behind the order were at least partially related to labor concerns rather than spycraft. The order also added NASA to the Federal Service Labor Management Relations statute, excluding it from collective bargaining representation. So again, NASA is a part of the whole intel apparatus. Make no mistake about it. That's what SpaceX is. That's what Blue Origin is. Ultimately, that's what Amazon is, Google is, your Android phone is. And that is why, for many, 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 many years now, I have fully stated, as it needs to be stated, unfortunately, we are not a constitutional republic. We are a techno-fascistic superstate that has some democratic leanings and some dispersed and decentralized freedoms. But ultimately, we've seen where those freedoms really are. So this is Duffy, the reality star, the transportation secretary, the acting NASA administrator. I'll be damned if that's the story we write. We're not losing the moon race to China. We're now going to take about a minute and 15 seconds to show you what NASA propaganda looks like. See, this is what they want you to think NASA is. We're going to the moon. We're going to Mars. Not, hey, Starlink is just the commercialized spy satellite network that we've been using, and that we've got one called Blackjack, and we've got Musk working on another one. That's not what they want you to focus on. No, we're going to the moon.
President Trump and I have a mission. America leads on Earth and in space. We're going back to the moon, and this time, when we plant our flag, we stay. Our program is called Artemis. And what we learn through Artemis gets us to Mars. Our mission is maintaining American dominance in space. China wants to get there, but we're getting there first. We will win the second space race. I'm committed to getting us back to the moon before President Trump leaves office. Come aboard to the final frontier.
And remember, Artemis was supposed to go to the moon last year, in 2024, with a manned mission. Instead, they sent Snoopy, and they went around the moon supposedly with Snoopy. You can't make that up. I wish I could. In fact, we'll go from Sean Duffy to Snoopy Artemis. Just, there he is. Snoopy's going to the moon. You cannot make this stuff up, and yet they do. NASA also working with the World Economic Forum. NASA also big on VR, virtual reality. NASA is this all-encompassing super agency, actually. All right? That's the reality. Because, look, right now, they're launching SpaceX rockets from Florida. Most have no idea what these are. All right? And they're working with the National Oceanic Administration right there and Atmospheric Administration. As we talked about NOAA. They're big on all this climate change stuff. Yet, think about how much a rocket's carbon footprint is. How much evil carbon is used to launch these things. So evil. But hey, man, we're going to build nuclear reactors on the moon, according to Duffy. I really, really wish that people were paying more attention. So I wanted to bring this up before we kind of wrap this up with showing you the CIA, NASA, and Area 51 and how they're intertwined. Elon Musk's father is accused now of sexually abusing 5 of his children and stepchildren. Now, I bring this up only because this was no surprise to me. If you didn't know, he had children with one of his stepchildren in a relationship, and now, from what I understand, it is being reported that, you know, that person had been abused since they were 4 years old. Now, Musk himself, who I've said is largely a PR guy, he's a smart guy, but largely not running any of these companies. He's not like running SpaceX, Twitter, aka X, The Boring Company, Tesla. Okay? You understand? Starlink. He's not running all these companies. But he does seem to come from a abusive, oligarchical type environment with massive trauma. All right? That's key when you're pushing these archetypes. You look at these people and you see where they come from, and they got that in common in spades. I mean, think about this. On a lower social climbing, like Dementia Joe Biden level. Dementia Joe. Like, he's nowhere near the type of rich, elitist family that Musk is. And yet, his kids have all sorts of depraved, sexual tics, drug abuse. People have read the passages from Biden's daughter's diary. They know about the cracky McPete of Hunter Biden. These are highly, highly traumatic situations that they're put into, okay? So now the coup de grace. I want to show everybody the CIA and NASA. Now, as I stated, I started trying to just do simple searches on it, and I just had to go grab the PDF file of Area 51 by Annie Jacobson. I suggest everybody out there maybe go buy it, either the PDF or the EPUB, or if you like books on tape, all of her stuff is on MP3 and on tape. And if you drive like me, when I go and speak somewhere, I try not to fly, and you're on these long road trips or you're just taking a trip, there's nothing better than listening to one of these books that's between 16 and 20-something hours. It's completely well-researched. So I went in, and first thing I typed in NASA. It comes up 65 times. Okay. Now, this is the last time. There's just a little picture at the very end, part of like the bibliography, because they talk about this. This is the Beatty High Range, where radar expert T.D. Barnes worked for a joint NASA-CIA project. Huh. Look, wow. Prior to his transfer to Area 51. Okay. So, I mean, when you're talking Groom Lake, when you're talking Area 51, when you're talking the CIA, you're talking NASA. NASA comes up in this book, 500-page book, 65 times. Okay? Let's just read. We're just going to read some of it for you. So again, if you didn't think that NASA was part of the intel apparatus, it's part of your black projects. It's part of really a lot of the scientific stuff that is being commercialized even now when we're talking about bioengineering, when we're talking about xenotransplantation, and that is taking human organs and then gestating them in animals, such as pigs. They're on it, man. NASA's a big part. But let's just read this. If a reporter found out about the electricity drain, it could lead to unwanted questions. Oh. NASA offered Kelly Johnson as an alternative wind tunnel test facility up in Northern California. So again, working with Area 51 and the Central Intelligence Agency here, right here, on the Oxcart program. Now, remember, we have very, 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 very limited knowledge of any of these programs other than the ones that use traditional propulsion systems. Oxcart, I mean, again, this is something we're talking about from the 1960s. The Silverbirds, the Blackbirds, the stealth bombers. I mean, really, other than drone technology, that's all we've been able to see. Just hit another one right here. So let's right here. Here's another little thing right here. We'll just read it. During training missions, the papers in Collins' flight pouch identified him only as a NASA weather pilot. So NASA is used as a cover for the Central Intelligence Agency and Area 51 back in the 60s. Hey, but we just declared it a space agency a month ago. Or I'm sorry, a spy agency a month ago. I could keep going. But my memory must have been totally wrong because Google told me this stuff just doesn't exist. Even though they've partnered with NASA. You know, maybe we'll bring that up just like we brought up Snoopy. Right? Here's Snoopy and Artemis. Where's Snoop? The Snoop. But let's just type it in. NASA, Google, quantum supremacy. And this is half a decade ago now. Here it is. First thing, nasa.gov. Right there. Boom. D-Wave systems, all of it. Folks, that is going to wrap up the show. I need your support. First of all, don't even have 100 thumbs up, over 100 people watching. Let's get the thumbs up, subscribe, share, ring that bell if you learned something today. Not only share the information, go well beyond what Jason Bermas told you. Go read the source material. Please read Annie Jacobson's book about Area 51. I think it's extremely important. Please look into this bill with Massie. Please see what Massie and Rand Paul are up to. Please look into the arms dealing connections of Epstein and that first suicide attempt. Do it all. But also consider supporting the broadcast. I cannot do it without you. The paychecks are over. Okay? I need you guys now more than ever. You want the Bermas Brigade to continue? I need your support. $5, $10, $15. Big donors. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You don't like the Buy Me a Coffee link? The PayPal is down below. Again, I want to remind you, marigoldresources.com, the place to be if you're buying or selling a business. You need somebody to talk to. Go check them out, please, please, please. And if you can't support me financially, that's fine. I get it. Please consider. I'm going to put it in the chat one more time. Going and retweeting this and quoting it and saying, remonetize Jason Bermas' channel. He is not harmful content. He's insightful content. I like to think that I'm pro-human content. I like to think that I'm content that is never about left and right, is always about right and wrong, and I absolutely love you guys, and I will see you all on the flip side.